Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us on a Tuesday evening. Turn off. I'll just speak loud. Okay, fine. This is an event by CSEA in collaboration with Center of Innovation and Incubation. And so CSEA is an association, as you know, and we conduct events, hackathons, webinars, and everything. Mostly in the interest that students get to more opportunity to learn and grow. Um, you guys might have attended events, and there are much more events to come up in this year. So stay tuned for that. Now, we all know the conventional path, right? We grow up, we get good score in 10th, 12th, pass JEE, then there's good intern, good placement, and it's happily ever after. But the thing is, it's not happily ever after for everybody. This very straightforward, simple path does not fit to our dreams, our aspirations. So even after we get our happily ever after, we feel like something is missing, something is still left out. So today we have with us our speaker who took the path less taken, who had ideas out of the box and better for it, and he'll share his experience with you, and maybe you will get the right fit for yourself in your career. Our speaker today is Prasad Kompalli. He's an alumni of our own college, and he's been in the field for 25 years. He's been the co-founder and director of Indus Bionics. He's been the head of e-commerce platform Myntra, and right now he's leading a very successful startup, which is called M-Fine, and I guess he'll tell you more about it than I can. Sir, can you please take the stage?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, it's great to see the college again. Some of my batchmates were there last week or the week before to celebrate 25 years completion. Yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't be there, but good to see you guys. Yeah, I don't know whether at this point in time, everything that, at least what I have done, what I have seen, learned, falls under out of the box thinking and out of the box doing things out of the box. But at least some observations, some thinking that I wanted to share. Hopefully, it's useful for you guys. Mostly, I guess you are in the third final year of the college or something like this. That's what I was told about. So I think it would be interesting to see from here on how the future will be, what the future holds, and what are the options of building the future, right? So yeah, I was a computer science graduate from the college, from REC. What was REC Warangal at that point in time? Yeah, so went through different journey of building things. Started as a developer, built things for a while in small companies, big companies, you know, SaaS products or on-premise products and technology products largely, and then slowly shifted to business, and became an entrepreneur. This is my currently second company that I'm running, and worked in the startup environment now for last more than 15 years, etc. So I think what I'll do is I'll talk about what I've learned in basics, in terms of some of the principles that I observed, try to emulate in my own career and my own decision making. And yeah, it is by no means exhaustive, way of doing things, or it's no means the sure shot kind of a formula for success or anything like that. But some thought, it can provoke some thoughts or evoke some understanding of the world around us. So when the topic was given to me as well, I thought it's a little bit too broad, but at least I give you a few examples from the what is more relevant, what is more relevant around us in the startup world, and how various things are shaping around us with technology particularly, right? So from a personal mindset point of view, from a personal bent of thinking point of view, I'm a big believer of transformative effect of technology, right? I think every one of us and every one of you particularly have a future that will be, you will shape the future of, entire, sometimes small companies, or sometimes countries, sometimes civilizations. I think we are in the era of where technology can transform significantly civilizations itself. In that sense, with that broader scope in mind, or broader thinking in mind, I thought I would share some of the ideas, some of the thoughts that I observed, or that come to me when I observe the things in the startup world. And some of the relevant stuff around us, what is happening around us, and relate to point of view of like how to think a little bit differently than the regular thinking of, linear thinking of, what is the next step from current step, right? So that's the hopefully I'll keep it short presentation wise, then we can actually have some questions, and I can take answer either broader or specific questions that you might have. Let me just share my screen. Yeah, hopefully you can still see this.
Just a minute.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So I think when you think about out of the box thinking, basically you can think about it in three ways. At least that's what frame of reference that I have. Either you look at a problem and then say that try to solve the specific problem that is given to you, or you can actually broaden the perspective and then say what is a, let's say, bigger ecosystem problem that we can solve, so that the problem that you are solving becomes a smaller one. I think that is something that one can apply in a lot of areas, and I'll tell you the examples of that. That's one way of looking at going out of the box, right? So going, instead of limiting yourself to one set of problem definition, or a narrow set of narrow problem definition. The other is that also again narrowing, instead of narrowing yourself to only your own domain, like whatever problem you're solving. You're solving healthcare or education or pure technology development or any pure one domain problem. Instead, try to take analogy from others and then try to see if we can solve it in a different way. Completely think about a different domain, how things are done in a, if you are solving in an education domain, you can think about healthcare, or you can think about commerce, or you can think about payments. So like that, or even transportation. You can think about this kind of different domains and go out of the box, and then actually think about solutions. And lastly, you can also be very, very creative in understanding, in just going beyond the realm of common sense. Like just apply the first principles of the domain that you are in, the science behind it, or the underlying foundations behind it, and then look at how to solve the problem more creative way. So I'll give you examples of these things in the real world around you, as well as some of the experiences that I have gone through in my own career and my own building of broader businesses and solutions, etc. So if you look at it, when e-commerce started in the beginning, it was taken off as a Flipkart, one of my where I worked as well for some time as part of Myntra and all. So when Flipkart started, etc., Myntra started, it was a belief that actually we can move the inventory, we can get products across the country with internet technology and logistics, etc. But there was one fundamental problem, that the online payments was not really there, right? So there are not many credit card users. Even till date, credit card usage in India is very, very less. So how do we really get the transaction completed, right? So instead of thinking about e-commerce as just the way America has, US has done, or other Western countries have done based on credit cards and things like that. Fundamental innovation was that why can't we do actually cash on delivery? When cash on delivery was done and launched with the boldness to think that we can solve the broader problem of cash movement and transaction completion across. By cash on delivery, we included now everyone who didn't have a card as well. That's millions and millions of people. That's why the scale has happened extremely fast into 7-10x kind of a scale that happened in the early days of Flipkart and Myntra, etc. I think when we look at the problem, I think we should look at the problem. There's a classic example of how to broaden the scope of the problem that you solve. Instead of thinking about exactly e-commerce means that you have to have an online payment. I don't know how many of you know earlier versions of IRCTC, the railway ticket booking or online booking of flight tickets, etc. They were all based on cards, right? And very broken systems, and many people were just not able to book this because they don't have cards, right? They still had to depend on agents and things like this. When e-commerce came and Flipkart did this cash on delivery, I think suddenly everybody across the country could access e-commerce inventory and do the e-commerce service. That's a classic example of what has happened around us. Another thing is unified payment interface. I think this is a very, very huge example and innovation that happened at a country, at a citizen level, at a country infrastructure level. Today, India can boast of the best payments infrastructure, financial inclusion infrastructure with UPI compared to even developed countries. That's because of the UPI. Again, there when people thought about UPI, they really thought about, okay, first the problem is to reduce the pure cash transactions and include more people to easily move their assets, their financial assets. For that, the predecessor was that actually creating millions and millions of bank accounts, and imagine a world where everybody has a bank account in India, 1.3 billion people, and how the financial transaction and inclusion will be super powerful, and so many applications can be thought about on top. Now every vendor, every small vendor across the street has the UPI payment mechanism on the bank account, so he's able to be reached for credit. He's able to get his working capital. He's able to get easily accept payments from everybody. So that's another idea of very much defining yourself a huge scope and then solving the problem. In a very similar way, early days of Myntra, people always used to think about how to order things. What if the things are not good in terms of the fit or size, etc. in fashion e-commerce. So when we introduced, you can return it, right? Suddenly in online, the experience became better than offline, because in offline returns were rarely accepted, right? Once you bought something, so suddenly online became much better prospect for a lot of purchases. So with the returns, so when we solved the returns problem, we actually solved the e-commerce problem. So instead of defining the e-commerce problem as just showing the inventory and shipping the inventory when you order, we actually had to solve the full cycle and broaden the perspective. I think that is something that one way of thinking completely out of the box and then broadening the scope of the problem. I'm trying to give you examples of what I have gone through and what I've seen across, and probably what you have seen as well, and how things are, and the backstory of what you probably take for granted these days, so that you get some thoughts on how to think about problems that you want to solve or you want to create for yourself in terms of solutions, or whether you are solving a problem in a big company or solving a problem as a technologist in another in your own domain, or you want to be an entrepreneur. So hopefully these examples and the backstories help you to think about it. Other thing is analogies, right? Right now, a lot of times the experiences that you want to create, there is no precedence to it, right? So it's very difficult to say that this is the problem I want to solve, right? So sometimes the precedence is there in other industries. Like, why can't I have something the other industry is doing? Like, when we started MFine as a doctor consultation and healthcare app, healthcare startup. That was the prevailing problem, is that if you want a doctor, it's an extremely painful experience. You have to take an appointment. Sometimes if you are in a remote place or a second tier town, etc., you don't even get the appointment properly. Even if you have the doctor appointment, you have to wait for hours together or travel kilometers together. It's not an easy problem to think about, and we could have built an automation, appointment booking software, and things like that, and assume that problems will be solved. But we looked at it and said that how can it be 10x 100x better, right? So what if we create an on-demand doctor? So any point in time, anywhere, if you fire up an app, you should be able to meet a specialist doctor that you necessarily need, right? What if we create an on-demand system within few seconds, just like within few minutes you get a Uber, or within few seconds you get the content you want to watch, whenever that is made, wherever that is available on Netflix. So can we create an on-demand doctor? So that's how we created it. And when we solved that problem, the adoption is like 100x or disproportionately high. So think about from other domains, how do you apply in your own domain what to do. So the result of, we're very incredibly proud of what we've done in terms of this kind of trying to create a kind of almost like a streaming experience of healthcare or a doctor consultations and doctor availability, etc., and other service availability. The result is this, right? If you look at it, I don't know whether you can all see the picture clearly. Each of this dot, it's just 1 month of data. Each of the dot you see on the India map shows a doctor consultation that happened on MFine, right? You can see it from remote parts of Kashmir, or northeastern states, or even islands which are part of. So when you create a simple, too simplistic system of just appointment booking or something like this wouldn't have been possible. This kind of adoption across the country wouldn't have been possible. It's because it's very simple. It's because you don't have to learn much. You can open the app and directly. So across the economic segments, educational segments, etc., we were able to take healthcare to millions of people. We served already more than 7 million people across the country, right? So, and it's constantly growing. So thinking about it from another domain, like it's an imagination that if I can get content or food delivery or transportation or e-commerce in an on-demand fashion, why can't I get a healthcare service on demand, right? That was the analogy application. So that's how we applied that, and then got this on-demand doctor live in MFine. That then, if you do this, I think then you really can get 10x, 100x impact, like you see on the picture, right? So the last way of thinking about it, is to really think about deeply about the domain itself, right? And solve the problems from the first principles, like how really what is the science behind it, what is the way to solve certain problems in your domain in a deep way. It could be you may be working in a cryptocurrency startup or a company, or you may be working in a regular fintech company, or you are working in an education company. Wherever you are, or a SaaS company of delivering services, etc., or a content company like Netflix and things like that. So wherever you are, you try to understand the first principles of that, right? Again, I'll give you another example of from MFine experience itself. When we were thinking about teleconsultations, so when we made this possible, obviously everybody was able to consult the doctor. But a lot of doctors and patients, of course, wanted their vitals, right, to be, told to or measured and told to the doctors, etc. Right. So vitals like blood pressure or a, heart rate or pulse oximetry, like oxygen saturation levels in the blood, etc. Right. So this is typical, like when you go to a doctor, they monitor all these things for you, right? So so for us, the regular way of solving it is that assume or push and think that these BP monitors or heart rate monitors, etc., will eventually spread to everywhere, and they will monitor this, and then they will load the data into the app when they are consulting on a video with the doctor. But we didn't see that that is good enough, right? That is innovative enough. That's not creative enough, and that's not simple enough as well for the users, right, or the doctors. So what we said was that actually, if you go deeper into the science of it, we can monitor, we can use the mobile camera, mobile sensors itself in a very powerful way. We can monitor the light reflected from the bloodstream, and we went into the science of it and then said that whenever the vitals are changing in your body, the bloodstream and the light absorption of the bloodstream is actually changing, right? So if you can monitor that with a mobile camera, then we actually, without any extra device or anything, just with a smartphone, we can monitor all these vitals with a machine learning application on top of this signal processing. So that's what we have done. So if you just a quick demo of it, hopefully it is showing while the video is playing. So if you look at it on MFine, if you go today, you can put your finger on the camera, and you can take a video of around 30 seconds of your finger. It just reflects, it takes the light reflected from the bloodstream, largely red light and green and blue, and then it processes the signal, and it observes based on huge amounts of data of machine learning, etc., and then measures the BP directly. Like, you don't need an extra device, you don't need BP or heart rate, etc., and even glucose that we are going to launch very soon. So we have significant number of patents there, etc. So the idea is not to, I mean, one, of course, it's a plug for MFine, shameless plug, I agree. But on the other hand, it also shows that, if you can go deeper into the first principles, you can solve the problem in a very, very effective way. In India, just to give you an idea, right, there are 200 million people who are diagnosed with blood pressure or sugars, etc., etc. But less than 5 million people have access to devices to measure these things, right? Suddenly now there are 500 million people who have smartphones in India. All of them are enabled with this, right, without any extra device. So that's the other framework of thinking that at least I use, or I observed, in terms of going deeper into saying that what we have, how can we apply first principles and science, and then actually solve some of the harder problems in the domain, right? I thought I'd just give you as a thought starters. These are the three principles that I have seen. Just broaden the perspective, think about the entire ecosystem, like in the payments ecosystem, thinking about UPI, thinking about other domains and apply those things here, like how to make services on demand, like just like we have in a lot of other domains, on demand services. And lastly, how to go deeper into the science of what you're doing, and then understand the first principles of it and apply and solve a what is seemed to be an impossible or a harder problem. So see, going forward, I think you will do a different job, like from as I said, from developers and technologists to entrepreneurs to business managers, probably even things like any sector, right, from entertainment to like healthcare or education or anything like that. I think the future is, I mean, the time has, the changes are accelerating in a very, very big way. The opportunities are huge, but the thing is, there is very limited scope for linear thinking, right? Yes, I wouldn't diss it, but on the other hand, in a linear thinking, in a fast changing environment around you, like so I still remember when I studied, of course, in college there was no internet. There was one internet connected machine, etc. But internet, I got access much later after the college. etc. Today, if you see internet to cryptocurrency to online services to everything is so pervasive, and then things are changing extremely rapidly. So what is today trend is like 3-4 years down the line, it's completely taken for granted. So in this kind of an environment, you need to think much broader. You need to think about much more deeper about things, and that's where the lot of opportunities, at least we see, compared to just a linear way of thinking about things in a step-by-step manner. So a lot of things getting disrupted at a faster pace than probably a decade ago or a couple of decades ago. So you're entering into a world which is, on the one hand side, can be scary, that the disruptive rate of disruption is so rapid. But on the other hand, it's extremely exhilarating, exciting, and challenging for you guys to actually apply what you've learned, as well as apply some of these principles of thinking creatively. What I've learned is that each of the these out of the box thinking ideas, etc., have a huge 10x, 100x impact. I think it is similar to even smaller decisions that or simpler decisions you may take, or what seem to be simpler decisions you may take in your career as well. Like, what is the kind of job you want to do? What is the kind of career you want to build? I think from here to next at least 10 years, easily 10 to 15 years, you have a chance to experiment a lot, think about it, and explore a lot. I would encourage all of you to take the path that is taken less. I think from a from your qualification point of view, and looking at all of you, crossing JE and other things, from the level of intelligence and abilities point of view, you have very little to lose in experimentation. So do a lot of experimentation. I think when you succeed once, I think the proportion, the resultant, these disproportionate results can come. Yeah, so those are some of the examples, some of the thought starters that I wanted to share with you today. Hopefully, it's just opens up new ideas and thoughts. Yeah, but otherwise, it's just a one evening that you spent with somebody who was from your college. So take it that way. But yeah, so any questions, comments, I'm happy to answer. Be there for some more time on this call. Thank you for this.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
I hope you can hear the applause as well. So the first question would be this skill that is there to think out of the box, right? So is there something we can do along the way to develop it? Until that one big idea strikes, what can we do to develop this out of the box thinking?
No, I think what I have seen is that see, some of these are the three things that I talked about, right? How to apply other domain, how to expand the horizon, perspective, etc. These are some of the starters that you can develop your skill into, right? So in itself, a lot of trying out experimentation is what I think that is important. It is not as much theoretical as it is really doing and learning things, right? So a lot of experimentation is what is involved in this, right? So um, from a skill point of view, I'd say more than skill, I mean, one is skill point of view. I think learning about other domains, etc., even if though it's not directly relevant to the problem that you're solving, is important. That means it can help you. It can help by reading or interacting with other colleagues from other domains, etc. But from a doing and learning point of view, I think there's no replacement for experimentation. I think you need to develop that instinct as well as the courage to keep doing things, even sometimes for the heck of it, differently, and then see what happens, right? So
Right, sir. So is anyone from the audience have any questions you can ask? Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, sir.
hey, good evening. Sorry, I can't hear the question. Maybe you have to repeat.
Yeah. I think there's a problem. Yeah.
Good evening, sir. That is an amazing talk. Thank you so much for giving this talk. So my question is, uh, all out of the box ideas might not be always successful. So where should we actually draw the line to understand the business viability of that particular out of the box idea?
Yeah, I think, see, yes, today I think I talked about successful ideas, and there are some things which failed as well in what I've seen. That's true. That's a good question. But I think, see, uh, I think failure is inevitable. I think you can't avoid it. If you've never failed, I don't think you would ever even succeed or get something created, right? So there is a famous saying, right? If you have not failed, you have not learned anything, right? So uh, there is no real way to say that draw this line here. But I think it's a combination of where you see that something is working, something is not working, etc. As a combination of either your first principles are not matching, or the the analogy doesn't apply to the domain that you have taken, etc. So you have to go by the results of this your experiment. But I think if you do 10 experiments, I think yeah, maybe 7 to 9 will fail, right? So
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
We have one more question.
Talk over. I think.
Hello, am I audible?
yep.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for taking time out. I do have one question. So in most of in the recent time, most of the startups are like burning too much cash to earn just a chunk of money now. So we're struggling to make itself profitable. So what's your point of view in terms of sustainability and what's the way out for the founder as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think there is some level of let's say misleading definition of success, right? So only scale is seen as a success, right? Rather than creating. So for me, my point of view definitely is that you create any size, right? Any size of business that is profitable and impactful is when the real success can be counted. I think there is a lot of just a euphoria around just the scale and just the capital burning, etc., and things like this. I think um, you know as you were talking about, I think there's also some level of correction that is already happening even in the market. So I think more and more as the companies are maturing, as the entire ecosystem is maturing, right? So we didn't have tech startups, too deep tech startups, particularly on the consumer side. We had a generation of tech startups which are more business side, which is like Infosys and companies like that. But consumer tech side of startups were starting only in 2012 or so, around 10 years. I think the entire ecosystem is maturing now that more services are getting consumed, more consumers are adopting it. When the consumers start to adopt it, obviously the business model gets better and better when it is not forced upon consumers with discounts and marketing, etc. Definitely, the maturity is there now. People are getting listed. That means that more discipline in the way the cash burn is and the way that businesses are run. Things are changing for the better. But definitely, yeah, it is my perspective is as you are asking. I measure myself as successful only if we create a profitable business, and profitable business always represents that you created net new value in the world, right? So somebody is willing to pay for what you've done, right? So I think the next decade is going to be more about those mature businesses.
Right, sir. Is there any more questions? Are there any more questions? Anybody? Yeah.
Now, audible?
Yep.
Sir, actually, thanks for this amazing talk first. Actually, I want to know there are other healthcare startups like Practo and Medibody are there. So, how are you different from them? What's the USP?
Yeah. So I think, see, in the healthcare domain, it's a huge domain. It's a $130 billion market. Various people have approached the problem, different edges, or let's say corners of the problem space, and then started getting in. So Practo was more trying to solve the problem of appointment booking, practice management for doctors, etc. And Medibody is more about selling some employee wellness programs for employers, right? Do an annual health checkup, preventive health checkup for those, etc. Or provide a small facility in a large office with a doctor, a primary doctor, to take care of the employees, their occupational health, etc. So where we started was a different, let's say, problem space. What I talked about, right? What we wanted was that can I imagine health as an on-demand service, right? As a consumer internet service, right? So that means that if I need something, it could be a test at home, or it could be a doctor consultation, or it could be just a concierge for helping with my surgery, or any of these things. Can I do this as a consumer internet service? So that's where we started, and we are different. So our business model that way is more consumer side of things, not the not the corporates paying it, or not the doctors or clinic management and hospitals paying it. It's more a consumer business model that we have. Having said that, I think everybody is converging into a broader platform play from wherever they have started. So in that sense, we do compete across these companies as well. So there will always be overlap of what we are doing, but our starting points are different. So our approach is like two fundamental things, right? One is that can I make it entire healthcare, whatever service it may be in healthcare, on demand, on consumer internet service. And number two, fundamentally, is can I change the mobile into a health device, which is in the hands of everybody, right? I don't need extra anything. I can track my health, I can track my vitals, I can track my chronic conditions, or whatever it is, or even vitals, and integrating with some of the wearables, etc. Can M-Fine be a companion in every smartphone, so that people can say whether they're sick or not, they can say I'm fine.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So now that you've been a part of our college, so any fond memories here? We would like to hear about that as well.
Oh, no, see, I think I mean, there are a lot of hostel memories. I think you will have better things you are doing than what we have done. I think we'll still be coming across as conservative what we have done, given the generational change that has happened. Yeah, I mean, everything is a good memory from the way we used to build our final year projects, to hacks that we used to do to cover up for our exams, and things like that. And I don't know how it is right now. And talking to talking to professors, or doing programs, everything is a fond memory only. It looks childish, of course, looking back, clearly, but in itself, it has a charm as such. But I was not I don't know whether can be called as a memory or not, but see, I was not very some of you may be, but nothing against them. I'm not the first bencher nor the top of the list, right? I'm not the top of the top ranker, etc. So I used to be very focused on only few subjects, etc. And finally, those subjects of coding and thinking about business problems, etc., and applying some of the technologies to solve business problems, those are the things that continued with me throughout my career. So yeah, I used to be shit scared about any other subject in terms of writing exams, etc. And I remember all those sleepless nights, etc. Even now, I get dream that nightmares that next day is a probability theory and stochastic process exam, which it never will go away from me. I think in my memory it's fired. It was so difficult for me. So some of these things I keep remembering from college. But yeah, nothing extraordinary, I would say.
So, sir, were you the one who got other people's proxies, or were you the one who got other people to get the attendance? Which way was it?
I think both. It won't work one way, you know that, right? So
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for this talk. We had a really great time. Everybody here looks little innovative to do something new, think out of the box, and yeah, thank you so much.
yeah, for me, thanks a lot for inviting me as well. For me, it's good to see. It definitely is nostalgic talking to you and looking at all of you young people. Thanks a lot for having me.
So we have one more question, sir. We can't let you go just yet.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a community of maybe third year, fourth years, and MSc guys. So, what do you think we should do as an association or as a student club to promote the entrepreneurship or startups from this?
Yeah, I think, see, I always think that um, I think more vibrant or more active internship and fellowship kind of programs with the industry would be good. Third year onwards, I think you will be in terms of skills good enough to go and do your projects. Not necessarily only summer projects, but even some of the semesters, etc. In between, if you can find time to do it. These days, a lot of things can be done remotely as well, with a little bit only in-person presence. So I think that's what I would create. A lot more programs like that. So even industry would need it, and you guys would like it as well. At least the rawness with which you come out of the college will reduce, and a little bit more awareness will come into the when you're going out of the college. That's what I would think from an association point of view, etc. To create some process for that, or to create some programs for it. Yeah.
Just one last question. So you talked about the failures in the first question, which someone asked. So can you talk about some of the failures and your learnings from them?
Yeah. So the MFIN is a second startup. My first startup didn't really work out well. We were trying to create somewhat of a healthcare technology startup only. We were trying to create a very indigenous, India-made implants, right? Implants for neurostimulators, it can actually make people, born deaf people, hear, or it can reduce ADHD, or it can reduce a lot of these disabilities, etc. So the biggest learning was that it's not enough to have a technology solution product, etc. You need to think about the entire market ecosystem, whether they're ready at all or not. I think that's the biggest learning, right? So when we reduce dramatically the prices of it because it's all made in India, the incentive in the entire ecosystem to sell such a cheaper product has gone away. So that is something that and without an insurance support, etc., it wouldn't work. So I think that was the biggest learning, that making a product is only the first of the, let's say, 100 steps, particularly in complex subjects like this, like healthcare and etc. So yeah, that was something that we were at it for a couple of years, 2.5 years, and unfortunately had to give up. Yeah.
It's great that you have like this MFIN is there now, and even I hearing that the checking the blood levels and everything, it's very exciting. Going to download the app and check it out, I think.
Yeah,
Thank you so much today for your time. You took time out of your busy schedule. We had a really fun meeting, and I was hoping that if you ever had the time and came to Warangal, we would be able to meet in person, and maybe you'll be able to meet the entire association and the students
Yeah.
if ever you come up.
Yeah, I would love to do that sometime. It's been a while since I visited REC as well, so NIT as well. So, yeah, hopefully sometime in the future. Thanks a lot once again, and very nice seeing you all. All the very best. You guys have my access as well in terms of email, etc. Anything that I can do for any of you, shoot me a mail. Try to respond and try to do whatever I can do. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Ciao.